Alien from 1979 is easily one of, if not the best, sci-fi horror film of all time. And in 2003, a director's cut was released that's actually about 47 seconds shorter than the theatrical cut. There's also a bunch of deleted scenes not in either cut, floating around on various physical media releases and documentaries. There's also scripted scenes from earlier drafts and the novelization. So today I'm going to start by comparing the theatrical cut with the director's cut, before checking out the deleted scenes and finishing up with script changes and beyond. Let's get into it. Alien is my favorite film in the franchise. Just like Terminator, I prefer the more horror-driven entries in the franchises. And this is still one of those movies I can just throw on any time. Nothing better than ordering a pizza, having some za and da, and watching Alien. The 2003 director's cut is something a lot of fans might scoff at, because some of them know better. You see, Ridley Scott has long since admitted it was mostly a marketing thing the studio wanted to do for the 25th anniversary of the film, and that he himself prefers the theatrical cut. So by calling this version the director's cut and promising new and alternate footage, they hoped this would bring fans to the theater in 2004. So let's take a look at some of these changes. As I mentioned before, this version is actually shorter, and some of the changes are so minute you wouldn't notice. And there's a few things I'm going to gloss over. But if you want all the details, check out the link in the description down below to moviecensorship.com. They have a whole article about these changes. And first we're going to take a look at everything that's been added into this version of the film, before checking out what was removed. The first change is a small one, but worth looking at, because it shows the type of George Lucas changes that were going on here. The scene where Ripley is contacting Earth adds in stars behind the Nostromo in the background to make it fit better with the other shots that include stars already. In fact, there are several shots of the ship where the stars are altered, but this isn't super impactful in my opinion. It might piss off a few fanboys just to change it, but, you know, whatever. They didn't take away the original version of Alien, so that's the important thing. Then there's about a minute and a half extra added to the crew listening to and attempting to figure out the mystery signal. The audio of this transmission is really weird, spooky. I dig it. This shows them working out exactly where it's coming from. Later on, when Kane investigates the egg, it seems like some different takes work together, and we see him with a gun for some reason. Sick. Then after Kane is brought aboard, the crew is watching him in the lab from the hall, and Parker suggests,
"How come you guys don't freeze him? How come you don't freeze? What is that anyway?"
Then Ripley descends the ladder, and Lambert immediately slaps the crap out of her. For context, because she previously refused to open the airlock in the scene before. But they're pulled apart. Overall, it's not a bad scene, but it doesn't outright add much to the story either, which is why it was probably cut. The scene with Brett, the legendary Harry Dean Stanton, with the water dripping down, is cut a bit different and includes different shots of the alien above and close-ups on his face. It also has the alien just grabbing Brett right by the head, which I'm conflicted about. You know, I do like seeing that, but at the same time the mystery is a little bit cooler, and that mystery is kept alive in the theatrical cut. After he screams for help, Ripley and Parker run into the room looking for Brett. They catch a glimpse of the alien, and then blood drips down from above onto Parker. I do think it's really cool that we get to see this stuff. Do I care that it's added into a director's cut? Not necessarily, but either way, it was a cool scene to see. Then we have perhaps one of the most iconic parts that was added in. It's actually only part of the full scene that's been added in here too, but Ripley comes down a ladder with a flamethrower, ends up in this room where she finds a cocooned Dallas in horrible condition. He begs her to kill him, and she obliges him with the flamethrower. And we're going to talk more about this scene later. There's a tiny bit of extra footage added in when the alien is investigating Jones. Again, it's kind of negligible at best. Nothing to write home about here. And that's mostly everything that was added into this version of the film. But as I mentioned before, it's 47 seconds shorter than the theatrical cut. So what did they take out? Well, the scene with Ripley drinking coffee and talking to Ash is cut, and I really think that's what makes this cut kind of annoying, is that anything was removed at all. Then there's a ton of scenes with like 2 seconds, 3 seconds cut out, pointlessly I might add. And at this point I'm just wondering what the hell's going on with this version of the film. We get a scene with Ripley and Dallas talking about whether or not they trust Ash, and his background on the ship. This is also not in the director's cut. The scene where Dallas is talking to Mother, trying to figure things out, that's gone as well. Kind of a bummer, I like that scene. There's about 20 seconds of Dallas crawling around in the ducts that's removed as well. Something that would be a little harder to notice because there's no outright dialogue, but you might later think like, I don't remember seeing that. And that's most of what was cut out of here, other than like all the small changes, which again, I'm not going to talk about. Go check out those articles if you want to know more. Now let's look at some scenes that aren't in either version. Some of the available deleted scenes are ones we just talked about, so I'll be skipping over the ones we already mentioned. The first one I want to talk about is called Rise and Shine, and it's called an outtake, I guess because it was shot but never assembled into any cut of the film. It shows that Kane was originally the first to wake up and prepare breakfast for the rest of the crew. The next one I want to mention is called Kane's Condition, which takes place just after the acid scene. They're back in the medical bay, and Lambert comes in to talk to Ash about Kane. She suggests trying to remove the facehugger again. Ripley, Brett, and Parker come in and question Ash a bit more while standing around. This scene doesn't add much. I definitely understand cutting it. It seems redundant even to me. There's a deleted scene called Ripley and Parker, which is a scene that was showing more of the tension between the two characters. Although I gotta say, it does just seem playful to me.
Why don't you get off my back?
I'll get off your back as soon as 12 modules fixed.
In my opinion, it's less about them and showcases more of the dynamic of the relationship between Brett and Parker.
Wait a minute, I think I got it. Give it a try now.
I'm sorry, my friend, you don't have anything.
Next is a scene called Planning the Search, which takes place after the chestburster scene, but before Kane's funeral and the search for the chestburster. It's funny because Parker does suggest putting on suits and opening up the airlock and letting the alien out.
Can we put on our pressure suits and blow all the shit? That'll kill it.
That is a terrific idea.
I understand cutting this scene, but as opposed to some of the others, I actually think this scene is entertaining and it's interesting. I mean, at least isolated on its own, right? Next up, a scene called Ripley Reassures Lambert, which happens after Dallas's death. It's a short bit, but in the context of the earlier scene where they fight, it shows reconciliation between them, and hints at Ripley's suspicions about Ash, as well as showing the futuristic casual attitude about sex. She asks if Lambert's ever slept with Ash. She says no, which shows where Ripley's mind is at. She's starting to suspect him of being an android, and it didn't make it into the final film much, but the crew originally was intended to have casual encounters with each other to ease tension and, get relief, I guess. More on that later. Then there are two deleted airlock sequences. The first one follows the conversation between Ripley and Lambert, and would show an elaborate action sequence that was scripted, in which Parker spots the alien outside the main airlock door. However, the only part of this scene that was filmed shows Ripley and Lambert on the bridge responding to his instructions. It could have been interesting to see, and this alone is intriguing to watch if you're a nerd for this stuff like I am, but I guess it just gets the imagination going and doesn't really fulfill it. The next airlock sequence was an unfilmed action sequence with Parker watching the alien enter the airlock and getting startled when the alarm goes off. The alien would be wounded by a door closing on it, which causes acid to spill, and the pressure in the ship is threatened. The alien then manages to escape into an air vent. The film then returns to Lambert on the bridge, which is the only thing they did film for it. There's another scene that was considered an outtake because it wasn't in any assembled version, called Alien Attacks Lambert, which reveals the alien when Lambert is gathering supplies for the escape shuttle. But Ridley Scott felt it showed too much of the alien, and you could tell it was someone in a costume. Yeah, this looks silly as hell. It's like a 7-foot tall man doing a crab walk. Then we once again have the cocoon scene, only this time it's a bit longer than it was in the director's cut. In that version, almost all of Ripley's lines were removed from this scene. The full version reveals she wants to try to help get him to the shuttle.
I'll get you up to the shuttle.
But he's just done, bro. He's ready for the check.
Check, please.
She's understandably very upset here, but she knows what she has to do. Then we have other stuff we know is planned, scripted, or it popped up in the novelization or somewhere else. We mentioned before the casual attitude towards sex. Apparently they were going to be having a lot more casual encounters with each other, and that one deleted scene we looked at is the biggest remaining piece of that. There was also going to be a scene where Ripley goes to Dallas and asks him for some relief. Yeah, a man wrote this. This kind of ties in with their casual attitude about nudity in general, because originally they would also wake up from the pods naked. A lot of the conceptual artwork shows this, as well as the novelization. Lambert at one point was going to use a helmet with a HUD, and Ridley Scott did do some storyboards for the scene where she would use it, and this is something that eventually made its way into Prometheus, which is going to be a theme you'll find with the stuff I'm going to talk about here. And that's a film I'll defend any day of the week. There is a cut sequence inside the derelict where the crew finds a mural depicting the reproductive cycle of the xenomorph. H.R. Geiger actually completed a mural for the scene, but ultimately it ended up not in the film. Again, something similar ended up in Prometheus. It's not quite the exact same, but very similar. Scott also had plans for the crew to take back the pilot's head from the derelict and study it on board the Nostromo, another scene we later get to see in Prometheus. We also have the infamous eggs silo, as it's called. Originally, the eggs wouldn't be located on the derelict, but instead inside a giant dome-like structure they would notice. There's also footage shot that was later only seen in the Alien Legacy documentary. For example, footage of Ash helping Kane aboard the Nostromo, revealing that Lambert and Dallas had constructed a stretcher to help getting back to the ship. There was also going to be a machine that examined him once he was aboard, called the Autodock, which once again is something we see in Prometheus. Not the Autodock, but the MedPod, as it's called in Prometheus. Other than that, there is a ton more out there you can find out about the making of this movie. I highly recommend doing some more research, because there's more than what I've just told you here. Hell, look through the comments, because some people are going to be talking about some stuff that I missed. Let me know what you guys think of these scenes and stuff in the comments down below. Love to hear from you.